G'day, MrBuzZz here. I'm in Kingsbury Graffiti, and I'm on the rooftop because it's one of the most familiar backgrounds. This is my guide, and I'm on the Oculus Quest mainly because I've got the chisel. That'll come in handy for what I'm about to show you. I had a lesson in graffiti, and so I thought I'd put together a little guide. That's Toys Guide for Beginners. Kingsbury Graffiti. I'm sharing with you a few things that I learnt. First thing, find your positioning. You don't want to go too high, you may not want to go too low. So get your height for your letters and try to keep that consistent with all of them. So mark that out. I've also got a left and right margin. I'm pretty happy with the position of where my word's going to be. Now, second little tip here is you've got to find your space from the wall, a nice comfortable distance, and then with the chisel tip on the quest, start writing your word. Just spray it on. Doesn't have to be perfect. Today's word is beat, and so I'm going to try and keep all the letters at the same height and going down to the same spot. Come back and change it later, but it's just a nice basis. Try and keep things uniform if you like at the moment. I'll put the center of that E with the center of the B. And keep going. You can add your style and flair if you want, but at this stage, just showing you a basic straight letter. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a voiceover, so you might have to bear with me. Okay, let's go to this on the end. Beats. Now I'm going to switch to the New York Fat Cat, just to sort of clean up the letters, fix up any bits that I may not want, or fatten up bits. Now I was saying you don't want to make your letters too high, too low. If you reach too high, you're going to get overspray, and if you're looking for a neat outline on everything, good to choose a nice eye level height, perhaps, for the highest point of your letters. So I've done that. Next is the shadow 3D. I shouldn't refer to it as a shadow, but more of a 3D. It does depend if you want to do it as a drop shadow or a 3D. So you got to pick your direction that you want to go, left or right. You can go below. Choose a different color for your background. It can be a contrasting color or a complementary or black if you want it. Up to you. Once you've chosen a color, of course, you can also choose a vanishing point. So I put a little dot here below the E, and I'm going to make all my little edges line up with that dot. Try and keep them a consistent length, distance. Doesn't really matter at the moment because I can shorten them later. Sometimes these ones are the hardest one, further away. You just line your dot up with the edges, the corners, of each letter. Curves. I'm going to do the edge here, and then it's a curve, it doesn't really have an edge, a corner. So I'm just going to bring it out. If you're far away, you can also line your hand up, your other hand with the dot. Makes it a bit easier. losing where the dot is in the corner of your eye. Now see there's a curve here, so I'm just going to bring it out, and that way I'll do the same on the B. It doesn't really have a sharp turn, it's got a curve, so I'll bring that out so when I do my line, I'll be able to use that to line it up. These little bits as well. Just to make sure that it's going to look right. Now all this is probably all going to be filled in as background. Just helps you get the eye for what direction everything's going. So you can see there, it does have some sort of 3D appearance. And start filling it in. And some bits can get confusing. Just fill them in and you can come back later with the background colour. And essentially erase it with another colour. This is the curve. I'm joining that line up and going up. Now at this stage I'm probably not keeping consistent distance and height, you could say, of my 3D. That's okay, I can come back and fix it with the background colour. This just gives you a better idea and filling it in. So you know what's going on. Doesn't have to be perfect. Line it up with your hand. Add those bits that you didn't notice before. And there we go. I filled in the 3D. It's going sort of back, dropping back. I've got a flat front to the letters. Now, time to do a bit of a fill-in. So I've used Tango for the main solid fill-in. As a basic idea, use a darker colour at the bottom of the letters, generally. Unless you have an idea of what you want to do, then you can, you know, do your fill-in properly. If you want to make it look like a piece of ice or a piece of metal, you can start doing that now. Once you've chosen your colour, of course, just spray it on. Doesn't need to be uniform pattern. A basic quick fill in. So I've got pink underneath a lot of orange. Now to choose a lighter colour, essentially, for the top. In this case I'm actually choosing a greenish blue. Do what you want. Do what pleases you. You can follow the same style or a different style. I'm just going to whack it on. Get this done more level. While the bottom level is a bit more of a wavy line. Right, there we go. That's the fill-in done. We've got our 3D. I'm just going to blend this one in with another colour. Just to blend in that straight line that I did. These are pretty opposite colours here that I'm using. So little tip, if you're trying to do a fade on the Quest, it's good if you turn the standard cap down to 10%, essentially down to 0, you got more control and you can do a nice little fade. And 80% is the lucky number when you come to do your outlines, because it's a nice clean spray. If you want it to look dusty and feathery, bring the pressure down. If you want a nice clean line, 80%. That's the secret. I should probably point out this is actually before an update, which is due. They've been doing a beta test, and it'll probably come out before this video. So check the pressures before you spray and use what's good for you. So I'm just going around here doing an outline, essentially cleaning up the edges of my letters. I actually want this orange go through. Quickly do that. And the more you do this type of stuff, the more practice it is. So there we go, nicely cleaned up fill-in. Now I've got my 3D as well. Also a time when I'm going to work out my highlights and shadows. So for the background, the 3D, at the moment it's pretty flat because it's just one colour, so I'm going to give it a little bit of depth, darken up where the shadows will be. So I'm using a standard cap, turning the pressure down. I'm just going to lightly dust from the back to the front. It gives it a bit more depth there at the moment. Shading and highlighting is maybe a tricky part for some people. I don't know how to explain that. It comes with experience, maybe a bit of practice. Practice drawing where shadows and highlights should be on different objects, and grab an apple, put it on the table, draw it with a pencil, see where the shade and highlights are from the light sources, which might be a lamp or a window. I may have messed up the 3D on that one, it doesn't matter. Depends on what you're looking for. If you want it sort of shaded in, fading, or if you want it like a hard line, colour to colour, up to you. I'm just going to do the outline now. And one tip about doing the outline is you want to try your best to make it look like it's one line. Now, remember, I am a toy sharing my beginner tips. And as you can see, my lines are very clean. But the more you practice, the more I practice, the better I hope to get. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. You come back and clean it up if you need to. There we go. Here's the outline of the letters. And if you want to, you can also outline the 3D. Put corners on there if you want as well. That helps with these lines as well. Might miss a few, but that's fine. And stepping back from it, you can sometimes get a better view of where things don't look right, and then you just come back and change it. Don't forget you have an eraser in your hand. If things don't look right, come back and fix it. Covering that bit up in white because, you know, takes it out of the view. You can see what you've actually sort of changed and what you've got. You can see some lines that you may have missed. And there we go. There's a straight letter with a fill in and a 3D. Pretty easy to do. Doesn't look too bad. Come back and add an extra colour into the fill. This is a bit of an afterthought. And that's some basic tips for doing a straight letter piece. There's more to it. You've got highlights and all the extra bits, and people like to do the wild style, but this is without any of that kind of stuff. This video is probably a bit longer than what I initially intended. So in part 2, I'll be changing it up a little, adding some extensions, some extra little flary bits. I hope that you can join me for that. I hope you did enjoy this video and got some nice tips out of it. I'll help you along the way. Appreciate a like and a subscribe. Cheers for watching. See ya!